Hey, everyone.
Hello.
I think some people may have accidentally clicked on the Teams thing. I see some people in the Teams meeting.
There's a
Yeah, I'm emailing them. I'm just replying to them to go into Zoom.
Okay. Oh, that's weird. How come there's a Teams invite?
I don't know. There's some kind of competition between Microsoft and Zoom.
Mm,
I think it just when a meeting was created, just automatically stuck in a Teams link.
That's bizarre.
yeah. Everybody, we'll just give folks a few more minutes to join before we get started.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Hi, Gordon. Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm having technical difficulties with my camera. It's saying it's failed. I'll work it on getting that going.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're going to give folks a few more minutes to log in.
Yeah.
Les, do you know if Mike's going to join? Did he respond at all?
Yeah, he responded that I guess he was going to join, but I don't see him here.
Okay. And Michelle should be joining. She was just in our committee meeting. All right. We see you, Gordon. Okay. Well, I don't want to start too late. So we do have quorum. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 1:03 p.m. on Tuesday, April 4th. Thank you, everybody, for joining the State Environmental Advisory Council meeting. We'll start off with introductions. My name is Onauna Thone. I am chair of the council. And I'll call people out. Maka'ala. Oh, and nobody's in the room with me.
Aloha, I'm Maka'ala Kamuana. I'm an EAC member on Kauai, and I am alone.
Thank you, Ron.
Ron Terry, an EAC member on the Big Island and alone in the room.
Thank you, Steph.
Steph Dunbar-Co. I am alone in the room. Aloha, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel.
Aloha, I'm Rachel Sprague. I'm calling from the island of Lanai, and I'm alone in the room.
Thank you, Tessie. Oh, you're on mute, Tessie.
Tessie Kinnaman, aloha everybody. From Kauai, all alone.
All right, thanks, Tessie. Dawn.
Hi, I'm Dawn Hager Nordblom, and I'm alone in the room.
Thanks, Dawn. Mahina.
Hello everyone, Mahina Tudor, EAC member from Oahu, and I'm all alone.
Thank you, Mahina. Gordon.
Hi, I'm Gordon Scruton from Oahu, and I'm alone.
Okay, thanks, Gordon. Mary. Oh, there you go.
Mary Bashir, I'm alone in the room.
All right.
White
Thank-
Island.
Thank you, Mary. Les?
Les Segundo staff, I'm alone.
Thank you, Les. Allison?
Allison Cato, alone.
Thank you. And it looks like we have one member of the public, Michaela Barnwell, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela. I'm a student at Hilo. We're encouraged to join some public meetings for our class, so I'm joining you guys today.
All right, thanks for joining us, Michaela. All right, so first up on the agenda is we have a lot of meeting minutes. So I want to thank Les. Thank you very much for helping our student helper Kaylee to work on this. We're getting caught back up. I'm hoping that everybody did have time to scan the meeting minutes, and if there are specific meeting minutes that you want to go over, have amendments to, please let me know. I've asked Kaylee to go through one more time just to make sure names and everything are spelled correctly through all the meeting minutes. It will be too long to basically say, hey, let's review it now. So, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes, but again, if there are specific, and I suppose we can do it in discussion. If there are specific meeting minutes that need to be amended, I'll ask that folks kind of identify which ones.
Make the motion.
Okay, and so Ron, motion to approve all of the meeting minutes listed, and Mario, second.
I'll second, but I noted that December 21st, 2021 and January 22 were unopenable.
Oh, okay.
I talked to Jen and she said that she fixed the link. Yeah, she fixed the link, so if you want to double check and see if you can,
She's correct, she has fixed it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
so in that case, do folks want a couple minutes or a few minutes to review December 2021 and January 2022?
I think we should exclude those if it's okay.
Okay.
Because I did review, I couldn't open them either, and I didn't know they were fixed, so I didn't bother to try again.
Well, they
And-
were just fixed because they weren't fixed at 11 o'clock, so.
Yeah, well, I opened the rest of them last week, and as soon as the agenda came out, and it took me, a couple hours to go through the minutes. So I think we should all give some time. I do have some comments, and they are almost all. I figured there's no point in doing grammar, spelling, punctuation type things, except for names.
Mhm.
And I have a number of names.
Okay.
I'd like to give that same standard of care to the other 2 months meetings.
Okay.
If you think that's okay.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So are you amenable to amending your motion to approve all of the January through December 2020 meeting minutes and the March 2023 meeting minutes?
I am.
Okay, and Mary, you're okay with the second on that?
I am.
Okay, so
I
we,
just had one other comment that I don't know that it matters. I'm not saying this looking for any sort of recognition, but sometimes I'm called out as vice chair and other times I'm not. I think it should just be taken out for consistency. I don't think I need to be labeled.
in the meeting minutes?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's throughout sometimes I'm have a title and sometimes I don't. I think it's just easier if I don't have a title,
mm-hmm. Okay,
but maybe we just do that going forward. I'm not trying to, I don't want to make work for anybody, but I think we should be consistent.
nope, that's a good comment. Thank you. And so, okay, before we go back to taking specific comments, I just want to note the motion again has been amended that we are only going, or the motion on the table is to approve the January through December 2020 meeting minutes and March 2023. The December 2021 and January 2022 meeting minutes will be deferred until our May meeting so that folks have time to review those. Okay, so going back to specific comments, thank you, Mary, for that comment. We'll make a note to our student helper to be consistent when using titles. Ron, you have specific edits?
Yeah, I'll try to take them hopefully in some kind of, I don't know, if I've got them in some kind of order. Well, anyway, they're in the order they're in my screen. I know that helps, but on March 2020,
Okay,
Okay, this is now this is one of those things I said I wouldn't do. But anyway, I got it open. Where it says, anywhere it says de minimis, it's all I's in de minimis.
okay,
So if somebody can just do a search and replace instead of having the minimus in there. On the June 2020 minutes, we had public present. And we have, before I say this, I want to say whoever did these minutes was fantastic. Thank you so much. Was that Kaylee? Is that what you said?
yeah, I think it's mostly been Kaylee, right? Les, I think Les, you helped with some of it.
Yeah, Kaylee and Kyla from I guess about a year ago, yeah.
Okay,
Well, they did a wonderful job not having all the material and context that we have. So, you know, I just want to say thank you. So I don't want to be nitpicky, but on the public present, this is because it's kind of funny. They have Brain B and it's Brian B.
Mhm.
And then for Walter Billingsley, it's spelled correct except for his last name. Billingsley has got a Y at the end, not an E.
okay,
On the OEQC Director's Report on item 3, it says Agriculture Environmental Committee. And Mary, what's the name of that committee back then in 2020?
agriculture and environment. I think.
And environment, right?
And environment, yeah.
Agriculture and environment, minor, but that's the name of that committee.
Okay.
On the next page, we have an OAQC, and maybe we could do a global change to OEQC.
Mhm.
And then on the July 2020 minutes at the bottom of the first page, it notes that Jenny Salmonson had passed away that month, which I think it's nice that we put it in the minutes because she was our director for a very long time at OEQC, but her name is spelled wrong. It's with an E, Genny, but maybe just call her Genevieve Salmonson, since this is sort of an in memoriam.
Yeah, okay,
And then on the September 2020 meetings, we have public there. And we have Mr. Billingsley again, spell his name with a Y at the end, not an E.
Mhm.
And then Sandy Fund, and she's got an interesting spelling to her name. It's PFUND.
okay,
On the October 6th meeting, second page, sorry, first line, we have Emily Ewan, it says. It's Emma Ewan from DLNR. And on the November 2020 meetings, we have public again, Sandy Fund, again, it's PFUND.
Mhm.
And then down on page 2, discussion of potential exemption list of judiciary projects. This is a tough one. It says Joanne Curvain.
Mhm.
And I had to go back and say, I never heard of that person. Who could that possibly be? And I did find her actual name, and it is, hang on, spelled, it is Krippane, and it is spelled Krippahne.
okay.
Krippahne.
Got it.
Thank you.
And Joanne with an E at the end?
Yes, it is. They got that part right.
Okay, good.
Let's see. Where was I at there? That was
That was November 2020 meeting minutes, page 2.
November 2020. God, I got to just open this whole thing up. Okay, who's next? December 2020. Name of public, first page there. That's Riley Fujisaki, not Fugisaki.
Got it. Thank you.
That's it.
That's great. Thank you, Ron, for your close look at all of the names. Okay, got Mary's comment, the overall comment on being consistent with titles. Does anybody else have any amendments to the meeting minutes? Okay, and I note that Roy and Michelle were able to join us during the review of the meeting minutes, so we'll get to your folks' introductions. All right. So again, the motion on the floor is to, well, Ron, then move to approve as amended, right? The January through December 2020 meeting minutes and March 2023. Any further discussion? Okay, well, if not, all those in favor, please raise your hands and keep them raised so I can take the votes. And if it is unanimous, okay. Gordon, are you not voting? You are voting, okay. So it is unanimous with all of the members present, so I won't take a roll call. Thank you folks very much again for taking the time to review. I know it's a lot of meeting minutes, and after the next meeting, we should be caught up, hopefully, so it won't be so many in one time. And last, thanks again to you and to Jan and to Kaylee and the other student helpers for spending time to get that done. I will send the notes for the corrections on the names and the titles to Kaylee today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you folks. All right. Okay, so item number 3, we're gonna defer for now. I think Scott said he'll be able to join us a little bit later in the meeting. So I'll hand it back over to you, Ron, to give the exemption committee update for item number 4 on our agenda. Oh, actually, if we can, sorry. Roy, go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know if anybody's in the room with you.
Roy Abe, member from Oahu. No one's with me.
Okay, thanks, Roy. And Michelle?
Michelle Lefebvre in Hilo. No one's in the room.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Ron.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, exemption committee met today. We had just a little bit of business. We are revising our procedures and policies to account for being part of OPSD organization, basically not OEQC with a OEQC director anymore. And we expect to finalize these next month's meeting and then bring them to the council for review and I guess approval. And then we also we don't have any exemption list for you this month, but we're working on the Hawaii School Facilities Authority, who is also working with the Hawaii Department of Education. Those are actually 2 very important lists because they have a lot of projects, and we're hoping to get those in and get everybody fully on board at some point pretty soon. And then the biggest news is that we have a new chair for the committee, and it's Michelle Lefebvre. So, yeah.
What was it, by acclamation? I acclimatized to the.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to serve. So that's it. If there's any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Does anybody have questions for Ron on the exemption committee update? Okay. And Michaela, if at any point you do, just please, let me know if you have any comments on any of the agenda items. Members of the public can comment on any agenda item.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, thank you, Ron, for the exemption committee update. I'll go ahead now and pass it on to Mary for the information and outreach committee update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have attached to your agenda the checklist for our internal committee use. In our discussion at the INO meeting we held at 11 o'clock today, we acknowledge that this might not make sense to people who are not already looking at the master procedures and checklists for Environmental Advisory Council public forums and presentations, because that's what it's referring to. Where the second document that you're seeing today is our addressing whether or not we're meeting those criteria that are in the first document. Because this is a document that's publicly circulated, we realize that we're creating great confusion.
Hey,
we
Mary, I don't think we had any attachments for INO on the full council meeting today.
I see. I give up.
No, but you can still report on what you folks talked about out of committee, and then if it needs to be attached for the full EAC meeting for me, we can go over it then. If there needs
We've
to
been
be.
working on these procedures for almost a year. It just, I mean, this is beyond turning the aircraft carrier. If you don't have it, there's not any point in trying to talk about it.
Were you gonna ask us to vote on that, Mary, or
Yes.
today?
Yep.
Because I think what I recall is that Wanana said we were gonna do all the votes in May for this. So I didn't worry about turning my procedures into the full council until.
I see.
So
I apparently didn't listen properly.
well, I think it should work out because we should all have you'll have ours and I'll have yours, and we can.
But I need your input. We need your input if we're going down the wrong path or not. We've spent 4 months creating this document. And we talked about it in committee last month, and we cleaned it up and we brought it forward, and that's what was supposed to come to you guys. And so that's why I'm frustrated. So I'll just shut up right here.
No,
We'll move on to May.
It's fine, but for committee chairs, if you folks need things on the full EAC agenda for future meetings, you have to let me know. And that's something that I send out to you folks on agenda days, asking what needs to be on the full EAC, because we do have to actually agendize action items and what gets attached. So yeah, if they're in the future, if you want an action item on the full EAC agenda, you have to tell me specifically what to put in there, because I don't always know what's on your committee agenda and what you want to be on the full EAC agenda. So that's no problem. We can add it to the May agenda. Just please, make sure that it's clear when you send your agendas over. I'll make a note of that. Okay.
I have a question, just so I'm clear for the AR procedures. That's what the May meeting's about. We're all gonna vote on each committee's procedures.
If folks are ready to, and sorry, Ron, I don't recall saying we're holding off on voting all of committee stuff until May.
No, I don't think you said it. You didn't say it to everybody. You said it in our committee meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, Mary.
Because our exemption committee stuff wasn't ready to come to.
Yeah, Mary wouldn't have heard that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just to be clear. So
yeah.
When our procedures are ready, right, we've been updating the overall policies and procedures document over the last several months. I think we're on version 6 or version 7 now. I didn't include them on this EAC agenda because we haven't been getting much feedback. There's been kind of tweaks here and there, but knowing that exemptions committee had indicated they wanted to update, INO was still working on their updated list. So I didn't include it in the larger packet, right? It didn't make sense yet. So we're still having tweaks from the different committees. So yeah, if all of the committees are ready in May to go and vote on the full package, we can do that. Just let me know, guys. And then we can certainly do that for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don, did you have your hand up earlier as well?
Oh, I was going to say the checklist that Mary had was very encompassing. And I think that for us, we just needed to maybe add a little bit more information on it. But I think that it not being on the agenda, we can still deal with it on May. Mary, did you want me to say anything about U.S. Fish and Wildlife? I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if she can hear me or not.
What do you want to say about Fish and Wildlife?
Oh, just that the lady who's supposed to do the presentation hasn't gotten back to me. So, according to our checklist, we have a 6-month work back, like send out the notices, get the people, do the PDFs, do the brochures, do PIO officer, do announcements, that kind of thing. And so we're just making sure that we do have somebody who's a speaker in May. And so we hopefully should know when she answers my email.
Thanks, Dawn, for that. And thank you, Mary, for your update. Any other questions on the INO update or anything else to add to that?
Well, I had a question. I wanted to know if that you guys were going to do an EIS type forum or something. Is that is it originally I heard June, end of June? Is that still kind of the plan?
It's still June. I've sent an email to Nicole Owen to check her availability in June at the last 2 weeks in June. Within the last 2 weeks in June, because I thought you were going away in July.
Yeah, May, but yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Okay.
Ron, are you off? You're not coming back on to EAC?
Well, we'll discuss terms later, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, let us know so we can schedule you before you're off.
Well, I can still be on the forum.
Okay. Oh, you can. That's
It might be easier if he's not with us.
yeah. Bye.
Anything I want.
You can say anything you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the update for INO. I know there was no legislative committee update today. Mary, did you want to lead the discussion on this at all? Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Robin asked me to just let you know what was still alive. There's not very much alive of what we've been watching. So Senate Bill 304, which is now House Draft 2, made the front page of the Tribune Herald this morning. That's the visitor impact fee. Even the department is questioning the constitutionality of it still, however. So I'm not sure if it's really going to have the legs to go or not. The Senate Bill 1535, as Ron, this probably matters to you, allows Director of DOT to exempt certain ground transportation facility projects for historic preservation review. That bill is still moving, although you can imagine the likely suspects are not happy. If it keeps moving, they'll probably ask for a veto. And then House Bill 654 is moving, and that's just an Energy Star to mandate that any state and county, any new appliances that state and county buys, they have to meet the Energy Star standards. And everything else is dead.
Thanks, Mary. I don't know if you noted it, but SB 422, which is our bill just amending 341. And sorry, I don't see it on Robin's list, so maybe that's why.
It's not on Robin's list.
Yeah, it's not on Robin's list for some reason, but that one is still moving. It passed out of, I believe its final committee on, what day was that? Monday? Friday? I can't remember what day. I think it was yesterday that I testified on. Maybe it was yesterday. I can't remember.
You're right.
But
It moved out on Friday.
Friday. Okay, thank you. My days are all caught up.
Left finance unamended, so it's still a SD1 that they're working with. The House hasn't done anything to it.
Yeah, and it's such a minor.
Doesn't have to go to conference.
Yeah, it's such a minor cleanup bill, so and no money involved. So I think that one will go forward. But that was the bill that we had asked Senator Gabbard and Rep. Lowen to introduce. So that one is going. Okay. Any questions on those bills before we move on to our next agenda item, which is related? Okay. So the next, thank you, Mary, for taking the lead on that while Robin was out. Next thing is House Concurrent Resolution 70 and House Resolution 71. I'm not sure if you folks got a chance to kind of go over that, but that actually had a hearing, I believe last week, Friday as well. It was a Thursday. In any event, there was a hearing on it. And this bill, oh, sorry, it was actually 28th, last week, Tuesday. Okay, so we submitted testimony on these resolutions, and that's included in your packet as well, just so you can see, we basically provided comments. These resolutions ask for a number of things. One of them is for the council, in consultation with, various departments at UH and DLNR and OPSD, to go through another review of the 343 rules and see what procedures, well, asking us to include all procedures required for EAs and EISs to be in chapter 343. Okay. Sorry, hey Les, I think Scott's in the waiting room. Can you let him in?
Oh, okay, got it, sorry.
Okay. All right. Hey Scott, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Not sure if his audio is connected yet. Oh, there he is. Okay. Hi, Scott.
Aloha.
Okay, so we were just about to get into House Concurrent Resolution 70 and House Resolution 71. I can proceed with that, or if you want to give your director's update first, we can postpone and do your director's update first. I know you're busy.
Please go ahead with that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so as I was saying, so both of these resolutions are the same, right? So they want us to reflect all factors to be considered for EAs and EISs in Chapter 343, collaborate with UH, OPSD, and DLNR to consider appointing an independent contractor or another neutral party to prepare EAs and if necessary an EIS, to submit a draft report with findings 20 days before the 2024 legislative session, to hold forums and gather public comments on proposed changes that would be included in our report, including accepting comments by electronic means. We'd have to hold forums in at least one forum in each county. And then separately by 2025 with DLNR to hold public forums in communities where there are state lands leased to the military to solicit input on what are the future uses of those lands, gather public comments, and create a report and submit it 20 days prior to the 2025 legislative session. So a lot of stuff. We went in and we made some comments on things, you know, noting that we actually did a comprehensive overhaul of the 343 rules and that we just did that relatively recently. Provided some comments on, you know, and questions back to the committees on what do these resolutions mean by a neutral party, right? To prepare EAs and EIS has pointed out that there would be financial implications of having, I guess, these so-called neutral consultants and where would those funds come from. Pointed out, you know, some difficulties for the EAC, right, in terms of not having our own budget, not having dedicated staff and whatnot, and whether or not a lot of these things could be accomplished in the timeline set forth by the legislature. So I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions on that. Another thing, and Allison, if you can just go ahead, I know a question came up from one member on, you know, these are resolutions, right? What are legal requirements to actually do the things in the resolution? So Allison, if you can go ahead and comment on that.
Oh, because these are resolutions, it's a request, so it's not a legal requirement. They're not legally required to actually do anything in the resolution. But I can't speak as to any other consequences of ignoring it, especially if it's a concurrent one. But as far as legal requirements, you don't have to meet it, or you can try to meet it to the extent you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's unreasonable, you know, due to lack of resources or time,
mm-hmm.
there are those considerations.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, so I did just want to know what our legal requirements were, so that's very helpful. Thank you. And because of where the hearing was on these resolutions, you know, we had to go ahead and get comments submitted. Unfortunately, we couldn't discuss it as a group ahead of time, but definitely open to folks' thoughts on this. Go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to appreciate that you use some strong language and you know, pointing out the insulting aspect of how they, whatever point it is they were trying to make about independent contractors and the professionals that do EAs and EISs. It's very frustrating to the business community that so much of our citizenry thinks that if someone makes money providing a service, that they're somehow a bad guy. And we just need to continue to strive to correct that by setting a good example. So thank you for making, specifically putting that in writing, though. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I also think the comments were very well done, and you put a lot of information in a concise format that I think they'll be able to read and understand. I'll just make one point about that didn't make the cut in here, but it's a little wonky, but about the benefit of independent contractors versus some standalone. I mean, contractors versus some standalone independent review. Let me put it that way. The independent review model generally takes a fully blown proposal and then analyzes the environmental impacts of it. There are varying degrees of separation required, but in the strictest model, you really can't have much contact between the group that's analyzing the environmental impact and the group that's proposing it. In other words, the design team, basically. And that is a kind of a terrible model for advancing environmentally friendly projects, because the folks with the environmental knowledge are not allowed to share that with the design team prior to the EA and have the design team benefit from their environmental knowledge. And I'll bring you, I want to make an example about this from my own personal life, as I am wont to do. Unfortunately, you guys have to listen to it. But on the Saddle Road, I can, which most of you are familiar with to some degree, I can tell you why every curve is there. If we drive it, I can tell you every single curve, what, because it'd be better to have a straight road, right? You don't have to, no curves at all, just go straight across, a lot shorter. That's what engineers like, right, Roy? But there's a lot of curves in that road because it's adapting to environmental resources. Now, if an engineer designed it and an EIS team had analyzed it, those curves wouldn't be there. It was an iterative process that took 8 years of study something, report back, study something, report back, meeting with the engineers, with the Federal Highway Administration, with DOT, and saying, can we move it this way? Can we tweak it that way? Can we reduce the right of way over here? Can we do this different surface treatment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And it turned out to be, an environmentally a good project. That's a complicated example, but it happens every day. And I think environmental professionals need to be integrated into the design of a thing. And that has to happen where the rubber hits the road, not in the architect's or the engineer's office, but when they're actually doing the EA and EIS. I say this from experience. And it's a point that's kind of never brought up in critiques of the way we do it now.
Thank you, Ron. And I do want to shout out to you and to Robin, who I reached out to folks kind of separately for your input on getting these comments done. So I really appreciate your valuable input so that we could get, something in writing before the committee for that hearing that came up. Any other, Roy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I used to do quite a bit of EAs and EISs, and we actually did the planning and engineering and the EAs all together. So I thought that was good because, we would, again, try to optimize the design and planning and so on. And we knew the background of the project, could describe it well, the impacts and all of that. But I guess the procedures got so complicated that we started using sub-consultants. And so again, it's maybe not as good, but we do work closely with the consultants, the environmental consultants. So overall, but I can't say that our client is the applicant or the government. So we try to be open and fair, but in the end, they're your clients. So and you try to get the project through the process. So there is just a little bit of conflict of interest, I would say, and everybody has different levels of ethics and all that, you know, we try to be open and get all the input from all the constituents and so on in the public. So we try to explain everything. But sometimes the clients do get upset when you know, it doesn't look favorable to them. So it's something we just have to deal with on a professional level. And especially if there's a lawsuit, then the client's attorneys get involved and, you know, they start pointing out that, you know, what do you mean by this? And so, yeah, we have to be very careful what we say and we try to be factual and so on. But it's tough. And I can see having an independent consultant, you know, it might be helpful, but yeah, it just gets really messy. I'm not sure if anybody is truly independent. Everybody has some views. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I just thought I'd provide my input.
Thanks, Roy. Maka'ala, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just curious as to the genesis of this. Can we point to a single genesis, or is this just overall angst, or did something come undone, or what happened? Because first of all, this is a complicated process and there's a lot. I mean, clearly your comments reflect that, you know, this is, yeah, where did this come from?
You know, I personally don't know where it came from. I suspect a lot of it came from the military bases that are coming up. I think a lot of them are 2026. I don't know, and I don't know the introducers personally. So it was, you know, Rep Ganaden, I think, was kind of leading the charge on this. Scott, I don't know if you have any insight on, no, okay. But, you know, some of the questions, and I'll give you folk, and I'm very happy with the thoughts on this. This makes me, one of the questions I have at the end of this is, to what extent do we do the things that have been asked of us, right? Obviously, there are some things that are going to be very difficult. But, you know, even the discussion that we've had for the last, you know, 5-10 minutes on this, we certainly can offer something in a report, giving some background and considerations for the legislature on some of this and why we think it's a good idea, why we don't think it's a good idea. So I think we could do parts of it. That's for us, you know, up for discussion and deciding what can we actually do and on what timeline. But some of the questions that came in of me had to do, you know, I had indicated again in our testimony and verbally that we we're very concerned with what was being asked of us given our status as the EAC, not having a budget, not having funding, not having our own dedicated staff. So one of the questions was, you know, what's a good timeline for us to be able to do some of this, right? I wasn't able to say, hey, we can do it in 2 years, we can do it in 3 years, right? If they want us to do another overhaul, what I did give them was context that the last time we did a full overhaul of the rules, it took about 2.5 to 3 years for, you know, for this group that currently did it, right? And there are others who started the process before us. So that came up, a lot of questions, not a lot, but several questions came up on the military leases. When is it a good time to start looking at them? I had to defer some, you know, questions to DLNR being the landlord of the military leases, right? Because really that's not something that us as the EAC that we do, that we look at, right? We really don't have a hand in that, but the experience that I guess we do have is having gone through a very comprehensive public commenting process with the rules, right? So we do have that experience, but we don't have the staffing needs or the staffing support to do that. So those are things to kind of keep in mind as we consider what parts of this could we do. We might at some point want to reach out to DLNR to see if they need our help for some of this, but really, I mean, the military leases are under them, right? So that's where eventually I want us to kind of think about it. We can agendize this again in May if folks want to kind of muddle on it and read through it a little bit more. But I definitely wanted folks to be aware of this. I don't know. Let's see. There was a minor amendment in it. I think that, you know, this resolution is moving. It hasn't. Yeah, it's still in play, I guess, in a sense.
That's interesting. I mean, this idea of an independent board, there's no NEPA parallel to that. I mean, just tying it back to the NEPA world, you know, that doesn't exist. The difference I see between NEPA and HEPA, though, is when an approving agency, when a federal agency is looking at a NEPA document, whether it's an EA or an EIS or a CADX, is they've got subject matter experts usually on their side. And that's something the HEPA process we don't have. You know, our state and county agencies, whoever the approving agency is, there's an area of focus with that entity, but that doesn't mean that they've got people on their staff to review all the other resource sections. So that's where the HEPA process relies on outside agencies and public comments to drive that independent review. I mean, that's just the difference in the process. NEPA, though, in terms of the independent review part, not independent review, but sort of a third party part, when you do an EIS, you are often asked to sign basically a communication. Everybody agrees that the consultant can only speak with the lead agency, can only talk to the applicant with the lead agency in the room. So often there's a ban on exactly what Ron was saying, on having those direct communications with the applicant in an effort to sort of preserve the analysis. But definitely what it does is it makes adjusting the project, just like Ron said, difficult, because you know, sometimes you get exclusionary picture, you know, a map that shows, oh, you can't build stuff here, and it's got a 50-meter buffer on it, because they can't show you where the archaeology sites are. They can't show you where the biological resources are. So it definitely slows down the process and makes it hard to accommodate environmental concerns. But I mean, it's just two different processes. But there's no equivalent to like an independent review that they're asking for here in the NEPA world. So it seems funny to invent it now.
I've seen one example of it in CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, and is sometimes invoked there. They have some independent reviews, and everyone I've talked to said it just doesn't work well at all.
Well, I think the independent review aside, and really appreciating your testimony, Anana and Rob and Robin and others who helped produce that. These leases coming to the end of their term is a really big deal. And it's a really big deal for Hawaii's environment. And you know, to the extent that our committee can help with finding the appropriate amount of support, expressing how much support is going to be needed to do this well, I think is really important. But it certainly makes me really fearful that the ledge is recommending that OPSD and EAC pull this off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate those comments. And yeah, so I think for us as a group, I do want to agendize this again for me. If everybody can, you know, if you need to, I know a lot of you have already looked at it, take a closer look at what we need to do, and let's maybe come up with a plan, because if this is, we absolutely need to coordinate with DLNR on the military leases portion of it. At the hearing again, they had mentioned, I think, you know, their staff planner had mentioned that some of the leases are coming up as early as 2026. And I think that's why the report on the military leases is due by 2025. So, you know, again, that timeline wise, it's concerning to me with this group having been through rulemaking and how much time and effort that took to do, you know, meetings on all the different islands and whatnot. On the portion of just going through the rules again, I mean, we have been wanting to tweak certain provisions in any event. The resolution actually asked that all of the procedures we put into chapter 343, which from, you know, a perspective we typically don't like to do that, right? We want to keep the statute a little bit thinner, have the more detailed provisions in the rules, because that gives us a little bit more flexibility in terms of amending the rules. But I don't know, Scott, if you have any additional thoughts on that, that would be something that we include in our report, right? I mean, all of the procedures currently are in the rules, with, you know, the exception of maybe tweaks that we want to do now that the new rules have been operating for a few years. But I think we should think about, I think we can get something to the ledge before, 20 days before the 2024 session in terms of whether or not we need to do a comprehensive review of the rules and whatnot. We might not be able to pull off actually doing the public outreach before 2024. But if that's something that the council wants to do, then I think we got to start really coming up with a plan and a schedule of how we're going to do that. So I'm interested in hearing folks' thoughts on that. And again, we don't have to make decisions today. I'll put maybe an action item on for me where we can propose a plan and a timeline or think about that a little bit more. Go ahead, Scott.
Just a couple of process thoughts. For resos, usually if it's a single chamber reso, like a House resolution or Senate resolution, the executive branch usually does not really move forward with those. We might have dialogue with individual legislators about maybe something to work on. But generally, if it's a single chamber reso, it's acknowledged and then maybe some dialogue. Concurrent resos are something that the executive branch tends to, kind of like what Allison said, try to find a way to do it. Even if we're not able to fully execute what we're asked to in the reso, we still usually try to find something. Since this is a concurrent resolution, it has one more committee hearing in the House, then it has to cross over to the Senate. And generally the way the House and Senate this year have been operating is they will do parallel committee referrals on the other chamber. So most likely, if this goes to the Senate, it would next go to Water and Land in the Senate and then to Judiciary in the Senate. So there's at least 2 more committee hearings and possibly 3 more committee hearings. And if the Senate makes any changes, then there's a conference committee hearing on a concurrent resolution. So we have quite a lot of process to go through before this can turn into an actual work product for the Environmental Advisory Council.
That's helpful. Thank you, Scott. So I am thinking, though, that we will still have continue discussion on this in May because, understanding it's still going to go through the process, but getting your folks' feedbacks on this and what's doable for us as a council can inform any other testimony that we have to give through, the other committee hearings going forward.
Maybe one thing to think about for that May meeting is there's been several bills this session asking OPSD and or DLNR to be involved in different ways on the military land leases. And it might be worth doing a postmortem, looking at what are those different ways that were raised and maybe what passed or didn't pass, and what your thoughts might be on recommending to DOP or DLNR folks, your thoughts on it.
Okay. That's a good idea. Just making some notes, thank you. Okay, so with that, I think I will, end the discussion on this now, unless folks have other thoughts, and then we'll pick up again, kind of let all of this, ruminate with you folks. We'll continue to monitor. We'll have additional discussion on, we'll check where the bill is by our May meeting, what they're asking, if there's any amendments by then, and just think about what's actually doable for us going forward. Okay. So actually, Steph, why don't I go ahead and let you do the AR committee update, and then Scott, I'll come back to you for the OPSD director's update.
So I had no update, Onana, and didn't need this spot.
Okay.
But fill me in if you had other plans.
No, just checking in just in case we missed something. Okay.
Nope.
Thank you, Steph.
Yep.
In that case, Scott, we'll go back to you for your update.
Thanks, Onana. Good to see everyone. So I guess a few things. I'll start with Ledge. And we have a few priority bills that we've been tracking that are admin proposed by Office of Planning. that are looking like they're going to go to conference committee. They've made it through both chambers, and assuming they get voted out from the floor of their chamber, then they'll go to conference committee. One of them is SB 1296, which is to create an economic development district for the state, which would help OP get federal funds to support nonprofits around the state with doing economic development work. Another one is a sea level rise vulnerability effort that is SB 1291. And that's an admin bill that's a follow-on from the work that OP did before on identifying state facilities in sea level rise vulnerable areas. And so the next step, what we would be doing with this bill, if it's passed, would be to set up a process for states to use, or sorry, for state agencies to use in deciding what to do about those facilities. Do they stay there? Do they relocate? Do they, if it's a leased facility, do they end the lease? When do they look at ending the lease? Those different kinds of questions. And then we have another bill, which is a beach assessment study that's not an admin bill, but currently I think it's assigned to OP to do, but it could be reassigned to DLNR, but it's to look at beaches across the state. We have a few other bills in the hopper as well. SB 1191, which has a lot of infrastructure money in it for transit-oriented development districts around the state on all the islands. So those, in addition to the budget bill, are the things we're tracking. In the budget, OP received $2 million in CIP funds for transit-oriented development projects. No positions that we asked for. I need to check the WAM version. The worksheets are not out yet, so we don't know what's in the details of the Senate version of the budget. But it looks like OP is probably going to get some operating funds, some CIP, and probably a limited number of positions, if any. But that's still being discussed. So that's where we are in the legislature. Operations, we have several projects that are going on with NOAA for CZM. We also have some things going on with TOD with the different agencies. We are looking at filling positions. So the planner 3 position for the environmental review program is vacant. We are in recruitment for that. Les is going to be retiring here soon, and we'll be in recruitment for that. ERP is going to be pretty shoestring very soon because it'll just be Tom and Jen. And so they're probably going to be needing, we'll be looking at trying to help them out with getting some backup because they're basically each other's backup. And if one person's out that day, the other person has to pick up all the ERP work. And Tom doesn't have anyone to rely on for helping get the notice done. I mean, he could with Jen, but it's not the same. So we're looking at how to juggle some of that work. There's some other positions we're recruiting for. And then just my last day will be May 4th, same day as the legislature. And then after that, Governor will be probably requesting maybe Mary Alice to step in as the acting director for a month or 2 while they're recruiting for the new director. But if you have any recommendations or applicants, or if you're interested in applying, please reach out to the governor's office and let them know. The most likely plan is for Mary Alice to step in for a little bit and be the interim director.
Thanks, Scott, for that update. We're, of course, devastated to hear that your last day is in May. Yeah, thanks for letting us know. I know everybody's curious on what's going to happen next, basically.
Me too.
Yeah.
Scott, may I ask a question? And don't answer it if you don't want to. But I thought because the confirmation hearing was a tie, you can stay on as director unless they call for another vote, floor vote, and then you could decide, how you wanted to play that. But I'm thinking I misunderstood the process.
My understanding may not be correct, but what I understand it to be is you have to obtain a majority of it. And in not obtaining a majority, you are not able to stay on past the last day of session. A tie is eligible for a motion for reconsideration. That's something that I don't know where that is. That's up to a senator who voted no to make that decision. That's not a senator who voted yes or was absent. It can only be a senator who voted no that can file that motion. But I do want to say thank you to everyone for your calls and emails. I heard from a number of senators that they had heard from you as individuals. And so thank you for choosing to speak out and contact folks. I really appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, Scott, for all that you've done. I mean, I know for us, we are all very, very excited to have you back. And again, devastated that you're not going to be able to continue in this position. But I hope we do get to work with you in some capacity in the future, whenever you're wanting to let us know what's next. So yeah.
When I know, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for our Scott on his update on legislature operations? No. Okay. Well, thank you, Scott. Well, okay, so I don't know, maybe you'll be able to join the May meeting then, I think. We'll see what your schedule's like. I know you'll only have a couple of days left, but we'll continue to chat. All right, let's move on from this very sad topic. Okay, next up, well, this is kind
Before
of
we
another.
move on, Anana, I can't keep my mouth shut.
Go ahead.
I just like the minutes to reflect that I, as an individual, think that this is a very sad time for our state. It's a misuse of Mary Alice's time. She's in a job she really loves and wants to do. She should get to continue doing it. And I just think the citizens of Hawaii need to pay attention to what has just taken place, not only in Scott's vote, but in some of the other votes. We are the people of Hawaii, not 11 people that have bigger egos than. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. I know folks don't disagree with you, so yeah. Okay. Because I don't think there's anything else we can do about that, unfortunately. We'll continue on to our next sad topic, which is discussion of EAC member terms. A lot of us have, been on this for a long time. And I mean, hey, Scott, some of us are wanting to resign in solidarity. But yeah, I don't know. Well, a lot of us can't continue soon anyways. We're continuing to serve, but you guys should have in your packet, and I've been really trying to nail down, thank you to everybody who responded, member terms. There's a couple of things going on. Some people are close to terming out. I think we have some folks who may be able to stay on as a holdover for a little longer. And I might ask folks to do that. And then some folks may be not wanting to continue. So I also want to say we just have some folks whose initial terms even end. So Dawn, for example, technically June 30, right? You're done. I reached out to boards and commissions. I've sent a few emails now, and I'm going to continue to reach out to them. I've not gotten a response because I've asked, for Dawn in particular to be to get a nomination, to try to get you guys nominated for this session so that we can extend your terms. So I'm hoping for the folks that term out in 2023, you're willing to continue for a little while. And Allison and Scott, you might have a better idea on process right now for how do we get these guys appointed, because like I said, I've sent a couple of emails to boards and commissions. I reached out to Sharon Ibarra, who was very helpful before, but she's actually not in Gov's office anymore. So it's been kind of hard juggling and then trying to figure everything out. Gordon, is okay if I tell everybody you decided? I mean, I'll let you actually.
Yeah, so fortunately or unfortunately, I've had a large affordable housing project gifted to me. It's going to take up quite a bit of my time, and I don't think I'll be able to dedicate the amount of time needed to continue to work with this committee. I'll still try to attend meetings as a member of the public when I can. But this is a very difficult, fast track. Affordable housing is a big thing on everybody's list. So especially right at the get-go when we start in June, it's going to be nuts for me, and I don't think I can give the proper time needed to the committee.
Hey, Gordon, I just wanted to say thank you for the time the fairly short time you spent on this council, but the time before that, when you, as a member of the public, that you were here keeping track of things. I mean, you're the perfect type of person that we want. And I'm sorry to see you go, but whoever's going to get more of your time is really lucky. If you have some colleagues that have some of your fire in the belly for doing good government in Hawaii, please send them our way and have them apply.
I will. I appreciate that, Ron. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. We will miss you, but we'll look forward to seeing you joining again as a member of the public, and appreciate the time that you've dedicated to serve.
As
So-
the chair of INO, I just want to say, as a committee member, Gordon, when he couldn't attend, he always let me know. I didn't have to wonder what I was going to, do for quorum. So I just, as a committee chair, that's a great committee member trait. Thank you for that, Gordon.
Thank you, man.
Okay, so to be clear, we have 3 people coming up. So Gordon's going off as of June 30. Ron's term ends June 30, 2023. Dawn's first term ends June 30, 2023. And who else? Those are my 3. Yeah. So
Maka'ala.
yes, and Makala. Okay, my 4. Now, if I calculate correct for folks appointed in 2016, and I have question marks next to Ron and Maka'ala. So if you guys can find your appointment letter, I think the advice that I got from Allison is that your appointment starts from your appointment date, not your, right? It's the appointment date from the governor. Is that correct? I'm trying to remember what you said correctly. So I think,
as opposed to,
what is that?
sorry, as opposed to.
Your term date. So even though you weren't confirmed, right? Because, okay, I got boards and commissions said it's from when you're confirmed, but I don't think that's correct. I think the statute's from when you start serving. It's from when you're appointed, right? Because a lot of us were appointed as interim appointments and didn't get confirmed until the following year.
I believe Onana is correct.
Yeah.
So if you guys can find your letters that, when you got your letter from Gov actually appointing you, that's when I'm counting your day 1 of when you start. For the folks appointed in 2016, like for me, I was appointed November 4, 2016. My term ends June 30, 2024, but I can technically hold over until November 4th, 2024. Which I think I'm willing to do at this point, even though I'm really pissed off at the state for obvious reasons. Okay, but because we're having a problem getting people appointed, again, boards and commission hasn't been responding to me. If folks are willing to hold over, I might ask that folks stay on for a little bit so we can get more members in, right? Because if we lose 4 people right now, I mean, I think we'll still have quorum, but we work better when we have more people because we need the feedback. So Dawn, I mean, hopefully you're willing to stay on. I think Dawn and Maka'ala actually did put in new applications, right? So that's what I told boards and commission. So I think we can get you guys appointed. And then I know Robin's been actively recruiting folks to encouraging, different organizations to put it people to apply. I don't think we've had any other applications actually submitted except for Dawn and Maka'ala's. So what I want from you folks is 1, recruit. 2, the folks that don't have your appointment date, if you can please find that so I can complete this so we can actually calculate and track how long people can stay on. And if you don't want to stay on, that's fine. But if you can, I'd like for people to hold over. So I know, Ron, that's you kind of coming up. Maka'ala, you kind of think about it. If you're willing, and we can have further discussion offline if that's something you want to do. Thoughts, question? Roy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was appointed in 2015, so.
Oh yeah.
My understanding is 8 years, so I'm supposed to term out this year.
Yeah, and it's weird because your last Yeah, I gotta talk to them about that. Shoot,
Yeah,
you're right.
okay.
Your last GM actually did your term through June 30, 2024.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think they forgot about my appointment, early appointment.
Earlier appointment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I gotta talk to them about you too. So that means you're off in June or August. You could technically maybe stay till August. Let me see. I might just tell you you have to stay on, Roy. Keep you guys all on as long as you possibly can.
Oh, no, I did look for my appointment letter and I couldn't find it. And the closest I can get is the governor's message for me on March 2nd, 2016. So that's when the governor sent, sent them to the Committee on Economic Development, Environment, and Technology. So I don't know, when I was
actually appointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Scott, do you remember, were you a year before me, Ron?
No, this is 2016. There's
I
definitely
started in 2015, November 2015. So you all would have come on sometime in the November to March period. And I don't know if you could check the meeting minutes from then, because you'll at least be able to nail the month, or at least within a couple weeks of it, whenever we show up as, voting members of the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
When does the governor when does he appoint you? He nominates you, the Senate confirms you, and then the governor appoints you? Is that how it works?
Nominating and appointing is the same thing outside of session.
So outside of session, you said?
Yeah.
It's kind of in session too, but there's a meaningful difference between being in session and outside of session.
Okay, so when I was nominated, obviously in March of at least sometime before March 2nd, 2016.
Yeah, and that's why I want to know if you came in 2016 or 2015, because like for me, I was an interim appointment November 2016, which they were out of session, right?
No, I definitely wasn't an interim appointment. Scott recruited me, and he recruited me. Is that okay? I mean, yeah, he did. He said, come on, and he did that after he was OEQC director. So it was definitely March 2016. You could just say March 2nd, that would do it. So I still have, even if I was appointed at the end of February or something, if we called nominating appointing, I would still be available until February. I did not apply for a 1-year term. First, because I didn't know if I could do it. And secondly, because, it's just a lot of work to apply and then, go to the Senate and get confirmed and all that stuff for a 1-year term. I don't know if I'm telling my friends to testify and all that stuff. So I don't even know what holdover really means and what the holdover process is. I don't really understand it.
Well, the holdover just means your term ended, but technically, and Allison, if I'm saying this incorrectly, or Scott, just feel free to correct me. But my understanding is that under the statute, you can serve for 8 years total, right? And then you have a term. You're also appointed for a term. So if you're continuing to serve beyond your appointed term, you're a holdover.
And who allows you to be a holdover? Probably it's not up to you, is it? You can't say, I'm going to be a holdover.
Well, the statute allows you to be a holdover without having to be appointed. So you could.
Who makes you that holdover?
No, that's the way that you're just noted, is like your term has ended, but you've decided to stay on. Is that correct, Allison?
Yeah, I'm not aware that there's any particular process. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think you just stay.
Wow.
Amazingly, we don't have meeting minutes on the website.
Ron, here's my wand.
We do. I'm sorry. We do have meeting minutes, and Ron, you were actually, your first meeting was in February 2016.
Okay. So I was definitely around.
Okay, so you are 2016.
7 years. That's 7 years and 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I want to hold over, I can, and you guys can't even kick me out. I mean, see, if Trump had known about this, it would have been just.
No, he hit his 8 years. He's out.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So
I can hold over till the 8th, till my 8th year. So that'd be February
2024.
2024.
Yeah. So if you're willing to serve a little longer.
I am, but one of the reasons I said I was going to be out here is because I'm going to be traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And we have a policy, and it's a good policy of requiring people to attend meetings.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that guy that doesn't come to all the meetings. So, I mean, I will try to get to the meetings I can, but I'm gonna be gone a lot. So if that doesn't displease the rest of the council, I'm willing to hang on.
After almost 8 years of service. I think we're gonna let you travel.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
so hold on. If you guys all started after I did, I started November 2015. I'm at 7.5 years government service. So, so no one can be at 8 before
For
June.
you. Yeah. Yeah. So
Maka'ala and Roy.
I think
Roy-
you
I was
might have
sworn
already
in
been on.
August of
Yeah,
2015.
you were already on. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
took
Roy
Mark.
might be the only one.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I think Roy is the only one who is actually hitting his 8 years in probably August of this year.
Yeah,
think
because Scott, you were already there when I came on, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, somebody knows when they started.
You guys didn't keep your letter from Gov. I kept
You don't have
mine.
it framed on your
Heavens,
wall?
no.
But I have it framed, but I scan everything. So that's why I was like, I know the
Yeah.
date of my letter. And I was like, give me the dates of your letters. Why don't you guys have this? Okay.
It's all in a file.
Whoever is going to take over for me as chair, you will need to require your members to provide you a copy of appointment letters so you can continue this chart going forward, so we don't have this problem. I mean, I spent a long time actually digging through the freaking website for your guys' GMs and stuff, so just so you guys know.
Yeah, and why isn't there an easy record of the GM? I mean, that's the date.
Why didn't you guys keep this stuff? That's why I asked
Because
you.
they didn't care.
I had to go look at which one. Okay, check the terms, check the next year, put keyword name search, appointment, of blah, blah, go through the archives. But going forward, please keep your guys' stuff so that we can update this chart. And I'm still missing from a lot of folks. I hope the newer guys at least have your guys' appointment letters if you can send it to me. I do want to complete this chart for my OCD purposes. So if we can, that'd be fabulous. But also so that we know when people's terms are coming up, right? So, okay.
Well, we have, Chair, I have two options. One, to figure out who has the copy of the GM, and two, to ask Les to do the minute search as he did for Ron.
Yeah, so the GMs don't matter now. I'm pretty sure I found everybody's GMs, but those dates don't line up with your appointment date necessarily, especially if you were an interim appointment. So that's why I wanted folks to find when were they appointed, because we need to calculate your your service technically starts from the date you were appointed.
I don't think Maka'ala is an interim appointment. I think she's like me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I checked the minutes, and Maka'ala, you and Ron started on the same meeting. So February 2016.
Okay, so both of you.
2016 or 2015?
2016.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Mahina, I think yours, I still have a question mark. I think you're 2016 as well, but I'm not 100% sure. Les, can you actually just help me and check for everybody?
Okay, for the 2016, yeah, it was basically Paulette Kaletini, Mahina Tudor, Ron Terry, and Maka'ala. Those were the new members in February 2016.
Okay. February 2016. Okay, so Mahina, you can hold over till February of 2024.
Les, is it correct that there were not meetings because the EC didn't have quorum in that gap from 2015 into 2016?
Well, according to this here, they say that there was a quorum, yeah, for the minutes. It says that for February 23rd, 2016, was a quorum for the meeting.
Yeah, there's just on the website, at least, there's a gap in meeting minutes from 2015, November, October-ish to February 2016. And so is that because there were no meetings? And so there's no meeting?
No,
minutes?
there were meetings, but I'm not too sure what happened, but I gotta check with Jen on that.
Okay. Yeah, Les, if you guys can check on your end and help me get this completed, I just want to know, again, if folks are willing to hold over, what's the longest they can hold over, and then we got to really scramble to kind of fill the rest of the seats with a lot of people basically for sure expiring. Some this year, I think Roy, yeah, if you're 2015, you're expiring, you're terming out this year, not expiring, excuse me. And then a lot of us would be 2024.
Yeah, I think Mahina and Makahala and I all came in at the same time, and there was no meetings that we didn't go to. We hit the ground running.
Mhm.
There were meetings, Scott had gotten a team together and we started going. So we're all there. I think you could just say February 1 if you want to be conservative.
Yeah, because our first meeting in February, it's early in the month, and then you guys, by March you couldn't.
And the governor wouldn't have, I don't think he appointed us in January, honestly. I think it was in February.
Okay. And I think Steph, you and I were interim in November 2016. That's what I have us
Right,
listed.
but I also want to say Mary and Tessie came on at that same meeting. Were you guys?
Stephanie and I were at the same meeting.
Okay.
And then Tessie was later.
I was November 4. That was my first meeting.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
Scott kidnapped me at the sustainability meeting. Right, Scott?
Yes.
Scott should run a master course on getting volunteers on boards.
Good
Yeah.
volunteers on boards.
Okay. Yeah, I have my appointment letters dated November 4, 2016. So I think I did come to that November meeting. Okay, so if it's me, Mary, okay, that's good. Tessie, if you can find your information, we still need for you. Dawn, I can probably find yours, but in any event, Dawn, you're okay holding over for a bit until we can get you reappointed. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, folks. Well, again, take another look at this, see if you can give me information so I can complete this, and I will keep working with boards and commission. Well, I guess the next question is, and Scott, you may know the answer to this, for the folks that, there's no issue, right, with the folks that end June 30th, because Ledge will already be out of session, they can hold over. And can they hold over kind of indefinitely until the end, or do they need an appointment by the next session? I guess that's what I'm not clear on.
I'll defer to Allison, but I think they have until the end of the next session to be reappointed if they're reappointable.
If they're reappointable, okay. Okay. Okay, I will work on getting people reappointed who want to be reappointed and can. And I'll work with the next director as well. Thank you, guys. Any other questions on terms and appointments? And everybody will do their homework to help me fill this out. Okay. So really the last thing on our agenda is just going over the committees again. As Ron had noted in the exemption committee update, because Ron is, transitioning off at some point, Michelle has graciously agreed to be the chair of the exemption committee. With Gordon exiting it, as of June 30, 2023, that's going to open up spaces on the strategic planning committee and INO. So other than that, are any other changes needed at this time to the committee assignments? But Gordon, you're staying on until June, right? Okay. All right. Well, if there's any other changes that come up, we can always revisit that again. Folks can ask me to put it on the committee or on the EAC agenda. Very last thing is,
I just put a link in the chat to a news release we put out in 2016. Might be interesting for posterity.
oh, thank you. Yeah, this is when she got all of us on there, right? Okay. Awesome. Well, that's helpful with the timeline. December 2016. Okay. Nope, that's good to have. Thank you. Okay, last thing on the agenda is just I put a reminder at the bottom to make sure that folks start sending all of your correspondence to ERP to the general ERP email, and it's listed there. As you folks know, Les is going to be retiring, so don't send anything to his direct email. Les, what is your retirement date again?
It's May 1st.
Yeah, coming up real soon. So after that, our next meeting is actually May 2nd, 2023. So keep an eye out for that. Again, for any committee agendas, make sure you guys get it in. Agendas are going to be due on Tuesday, April 25th, so that ERP and Allison has time to review it. If you have any agenda items that need to be on the full EAC agenda, please identify those for me specifically, as well as attachments. All right. Any other questions, comments, announcements before we wrap up for today? No. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. See you folks on May 2nd, and we're going to adjourn the meeting at 2:27 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.